brought to you almost live from the Dude in the Basement studios. Why? Because that's where the good stuff is. It's Sips, Suds, and Smokes with your smoking hosts, the good old boys. And now it's sippin' time.
Hello and welcome to this Sips episode where everything good in life is worth discussing. As always, we are the best thing on at 2 a.m. This is a 1-hour show that's somewhat entertaining for 22 minutes.
I'm going for 25 today, Bob. 25.
We are still banned in Alabama.
Roll Tide!
And also in one major Kentucky distillery that shall remain nameless after they found Brent in the rick house, riding a barrel like Slim Pickens and Dr. Strangelove in an interesting state of undress. But we won't go there.
Yeah, but did you have the cowboy? Did you have the cowboy hat, Brent?
It was only one
That's
distillery.
all he had, that and assless chaps.
It was only one distillery that caught me, so that's why.
Chaps and a hat and nothing else. Get that out of your head.
Probably some splinters.
Oh, dear Lord. This is Made Man Bob. Joining me today, our Made Man Brent.
It's a pleasure to be here. I like the little bowls of snow-capped candies for us today.
There you go. And Made Man Maury.
Good morning, Bob. I love what you did with the basement this week. It's got a nice, damp
Well, we try, Good old boy Justin.
Thank you. Being here today is like a Rocky Mountain high.
And Mr. Happy Harmeet.
As they say in the vernacular, yee-haw, y'all. Yee-haw.
All right. Brent and Maury and myself are with the Bourbon Mafia.
Yeah,
The Bourbon Mafia
boys.
is a nonprofit organization composed of bourbon enthusiasts and industry professionals. With representation in 9 states, our members combine a love of bourbon and a passion for charitable work. The group uses their love of our native spirit to raise money for local and national charities through rare bottle auctions and other themed events. Check us out on Facebook at The Bourbon Mafia or at thebourbonmafia.org.
Do you guys get nicknames? Do you have a mafia nickname?
Yeah, mine is Kill Guy Who Interrupts Me.
Oh.
I swear, it's just always something with you guys,
Cement shoes, man.
You're a drunken lush.
That's your problem. That's right, Fred Sanford. Our show is sponsored in part by Fine Spirits in Cooper City, Florida, home of the Enigmatic Machine, serving great wines, whiskeys, and other spirits by the glass. We can find them where?
www.finespirits.net or facebook.com/finespirits.
All right. And our show is also sponsored in part by the Fort Lauderdale Whiskey Society. To find out more about the society and their events, visit ftlws.com. Our sip segments are all about wine, distilled spirits, tea, and coffee. And today's show is a Distiller's Takeover show featuring whiskeys from the Laws Whiskey House. Brent's trying to figure it out.
You can't not sing it.
I know that. It's hard not to. You got to jump right in there.
Well,
and
not
sing
when the
along.
boys are doing it too. I mean, come on. That's proto-punk there. All right. We're going to cover some background on the band. He wanted Rocky Mountain High. I'm like, there's no way. It's not happening. It's just not.
That's a different show.
In addition to the band, we're going to cover some about the brand as well.
Well, I remember that joke that comedian said. I was buying tapes in a store one time, and the tape with Rocky Mountain High on it was 99 cents, and the blank tape was $1.99. Yeah, okay. Should be nice. He's not with us anymore, Well, and our samples today were graciously provided to us by Karen French over at Laws Whiskey House. So
Thank you, Karen.
Here is a short list of what we're going to be tasting today. 80 Laws 4-grain straight bourbon, 80 Laws 4-grain straight bourbon bottled in bond, 80 Laws Farmers Select single barrel 4-grain straight bourbon, 80 Laws small batch Secale straight rye, 80 Laws Triticum straight wheat whiskey, 80 Laws Hordeum. I can't.
Your Latin is rusty, boy.
Yeah, like you speak Latin, please. Jeez, Latin.
Pax vobiscum.
You think what?
Bless
I don't
you.
know. We're in South Florida, and all I keep hearing is about all the Latins down here, and nobody down here speaks Latin. I haven't found one yet. Yeah, I don't know.
I found some nice Latinas the other night.
Oh, well, that's a different story. I got nothing wrong with that. Hordeum straight malt whiskey. So why don't we have Brent tell us a little bit about the history of the Laws Whiskey House?
Thanks, Bob. The Laws Whiskey House was founded in Denver, Colorado by Al Laws, a native of Alberta, Canada, who was brought to the area.
They named the province after Al.
They named it after him?
Albert.
Yeah. He brought to the area his work in the oil and gas industry. With a personal passion for whiskey, he decided to open his own distillery, and with that, the Whiskey House was born. Their mash is made using Colorado-grown rye, wheat, and barley from the family-owned Colorado Malting Company located in Alamosa, Colorado, and corn from Wisconsin. The mash is open-air fermented for 4 days before distilling twice in their 4-plate combination column pot still made by Vendome Copper and Brass Works out of Louisville. The whiskey is then aged in new full-size 53-gallon charred American white oak barrels from Independent Stave Corporation for a minimum of 2 years. And that's some of the information and history on Laws Whiskey House. And now we'll have Maury tell us our SIPS ratings in his best game show host voice.
Oh, nice throw that out there.
Well, come on down. Okay. We'll be rating and tasting these whiskeys with our signature SIPS ratings and signature
Sounds
sounds.
nothing like Don Pardo.
1 sip. Give me a glass of water to wash out my mouth.
Hold on.
We start drinking before the show. Bob can't find the buttons.
2 sips. Nice. But what else do you have?
Well, isn't that nice?
3 sips. Interesting. What was this again?
Interesting.
4 sips. Let's keep this one a secret to ourselves. Pour me another.
That's classified.
5 sips. Oh my. I was unaware anything could be this good.
Oh my goodness!
Yes! 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 Yes!
You look forward to that, Bob.
That was the
You get to
worst
hear that
game show
host
voice I've ever heard of.
Could you at least get Vanna
Could you
to
even
turn over one
try?
of the SIPS ratings for us?
Come on down, something. I mean, at least make an attempt,
Why is it a game show?
Why not?
Brent makes the rules today. These are Brent's rules.
Vanna, turn over a vowel for us, please.
You're going to have some whiskey today. That's come to us by the fine people at Rice-A-Roni, the San Francisco treat. Today's contestants are going to get a case of turtle wax and some lovely Z-brick wall covering and a fur from Dicker & Dicker Beverly Hills. And a gift certificate
God,
from the
you watch
Spiegel
too much
catalog,
Price.
Chicago, Illinois, 60609. And back to you, Maury.
Thank you, Bob.
God, you're horrible, man. What kind of a childhood did you have? What did your parents do to you?
He studied all the time. That's they didn't let him watch TV.
He studied?
TV.
Please.
What's that?
I seriously doubt that. Good Lord. All right. We're going to go to our first product, so we're going to have Justin tell us a little bit about it.
Our first product is 80 Laws 4-grain straight bourbon, 47.5% alcohol by volume. Their
What's the
flagship
proof? Do the math, lawyer boy. Do the math.
double 47.5% alcohol by volume.
Times two.
Times two.
Maybe 95.
Maybe.
He's a fine lawyer until you get to that sentencing part where they start talking about
They
the
don't
number of
teach that in
years.
DY lawyer school.
Then you're
Their
then you're in
flagship
trouble.
whiskey made from corn, wheat, barley, and rye, and they use a stepped cooking process in making the mash as they feel each grain variety requires a different cooking temperature to maximize its flavor and character. 60% corn, 20% Colorado-grown wheat, 10% Colorado-grown rye, and 10% Colorado-grown barley.
It's 110%.
But he didn't know that. He
No,
was
he didn't
not
know
ahead.
He can't add either.
I put the numbers down wrong just to see if he'd notice. Now he's wondering if I'm serious. Look at him. He's going, wait.
He's adding right now.
Is that right? Hold on.
Give him a chance.
Yeah.
He went to his phone for his
6
calculator.
carry the 2, cosine pi. Pi.
Yeah. Okay, Justin, tell us about it.
Well, we're waiting.
We got a sweet sorghum nose out of this one, or at least I did. I won't say we did.
Sorghum. That's
And
a
it
$10
explodes
word.
with sweet, followed by fire. It had decent legs on it.
The $10 word for a
love-
$1 grain.
I love
Well,
the
you
mouthfeel, and I gave it 4 sips.
Wow.
That's
You're feeling
impressive.
generous today, aren't you?
It had a good mouthfeel.
Yeah, it did have a good mouthfeel. The one thing I liked about with the colors of these, when you line them up, they kind of look, they're more brown than what you would normally see. So it's kind of like a little bit of reddish in there. You get a little bit of mahogany. So it's almost like looking at the hue of the sunset when you line up all the bottles together, which is kind of neat.
That
and the bottles
Distiller's
themselves
Caramel
are,
does a great job.
I don't know what sunsets you're looking at.
why not? The sunsets are nice, but on the nose, I got a lot of leather and tobacco on this nose. And I don't know if it's just in that area out there in Colorado, but I mean, some of the other distilleries have the same kind of profile to me. But, with the palate, it was a little bit dry, but I did get some fruits out of it. I got some cherry, some dates. I got a little bit of hint of vanilla, just a small hint, but then it really got overshadowed by the leather and tobacco. And that's what I got the most out of it. It wasn't bad or anything like that. I enjoyed it a lot. But the finish to me was a little bit short. Wasn't long enough for me. You can tell
his
this
wife
is,
says.
you can tell this is an underage. This is an underaged.
You like them underage.
I like them. I don't like them underaged anymore. I like them fully matured. And
That's the way to go.
we're gonna,
All
3
right, we'll be
sips.
back.
Yeah.
Rolling clouds and crashing surf, iridescent dunes reflecting by the light of a rising, glowing moon. Seashore mesmerizing, night breeze hypnotizing. We've come across these back roads none too soon. Look to the left, to the right. Keep your eyes on the road, my darling. Wondering if we're only passing through. Open roads and open windows. My hand is yours forever, sweet love.
All right, and we're back. And how many sips?
I gave it 3 sips. It was on the borderline 2 to 3, but I went with 3.
All right.
It wasn't bad.
All right, not too bad. Anybody else?
Sure, I'll go. So, the color was deep amber. There was no sunset in my glass. I have no idea what he's talking about. Now,
No, I said with the bottles. When you line up the bottles, you get the hues of like the sunset.
None of us ever
Those
know
are
what
the
he's talking about
labels.
anyway.
Look at the labels.
Yeah, I'm looking at the colored labels.
There you go. And there, by the way, the bottles here, this is a beautiful presentation of these. You look at these bottles and you're like, I want to drink this.
They're heavy.
Get in my belly.
Holy cow.
Yeah,
So,
But the packaging is beautiful.
yeah,
Packaging-
definitely
done a
beautiful
nice job.
packaging. That's what I told
Very
her.
upscale.
yes. So, other than that, the whiskey itself was quite good. The thing for me is like, when I first nosed it, it's like, hey, someone put scotch in my bourbon. The barley note really came out for me. I mean, I got some of the sweet corn and then floral notes, but then the barley was really there. The palate was a little bit hot for me, even at 95 proof. And had some sweet tobacco, I think, that Brent mentioned. But the finish was slightly unpleasant and kind of bitter. But I poured a bunch of the whiskeys out in front of me, and I was evaluating them over time. As I let that thing breathe, it improved so much. The flavors became more balanced. The nose became more intriguing. The palate was a little bit longer. I mean, at first I thought, oh, this is a 2-sip cocktail whiskey, but then it went up to a 3, almost to a 4. So 3 sips for me. Buttons.
Interesting.
Press the buttons.
I'm pressing the button, smart guy.
Maury, what'd you think?
I agree with you, Harmeet, as much as I hate to admit it.
You always hate to admit it, but you always agree with me.
That's not true.
I thought initially it was a 2-sip whiskey. It was a little out of balance, and a lot of tobacco and a lot of leather up front.
Yeah.
Air and time in the glass definitely benefited it, and it really improved with time. It's definitely 3 sips, and I agree with everything else you said about it.
Cool. You want to do the 4 grain? Who's doing the 4 grain?
All right. Our next up is the 4 grain bottled in bond, and that's going to be Maury.
Okay. So, as you said, the 80 Laws 4 grain bottled in bond, clocking in at exactly 50% ABV or 100 proof. Bottled in accordance with the rules of the Bottled in Bond Act of 1897. This expression is aged a minimum of 4 years. Laws Whiskey House was the very first distillery in Colorado to produce a bottled in bond whiskey, and was the first bottled in bond expression for a 4 grain straight bourbon. So 2 firsts for them. Kudos. To me, this bourbon is like the very last one on steroids. Again, it really benefited from air and time in the glass. My initial impressions were not quite as favorable. It's got a beautiful amber color. It's got a nice nose that really balances out and smooths out after about 20 minutes in the glass. You get lots of tropical fruits on the nose, and definitely some more traditional bourbon notes in terms of vanilla and even a little hint of creme brulee. On the palate, it's mouth coating. It's got really a nice viscous feel to it, a lot of balance, and has a medium finish. I think it's extremely well made. It is still a little bit young for my palate, as I thought the first one was. This one's definitely better in that it's got a little more barrel age on it. Well made. I love where they're going with this product. I'd love to see it and revisit it, and after another couple of years in wood. For now, I give it a solid 3 sips.
Interesting.
Who else?
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I have to, the nose.
You don't
the
have
nose
to agree with
improves.
him.
No, the
He
nose.
doesn't. He don't ignore that letter he sent you. You
The nose definitely improves. It's I like the nose a lot on this, but I get some cherries and I get some dates, a little bit of bananas out of it. But the one thing again that comes back is the leather and tobacco. For some reason the grains in that area, or it might just be the barley itself, to give that flavor, but definitely
it
an
could
improvement.
be aging in Colorado,
Yeah, the aging in Colorado could be it, and the way they
Rocky Mountain air.
and the way they distill each grain differently, could also be it. But
Could be the water too.
could be some of the water, the Rocky Mountain high water, and
Yeah, well, that's just
made with bong water.
yeah, the bond water, yeah, made with bond water. But I got a medium finish to this, and I'm going to give it 3 sips.
Okay.
It's enjoyable.
Or interesting if it's fun as a button.
Yeah. Harm, what do you think?
Oh, don't
Keep talking about the button.
You're a complete bastard and we'll hate it.
Keep talking about the button.
You just need a faster laptop or faster fingers.
That's what she said.
I want you to feel like you can tell me anything, okay?
Okay, the color is the same as the first one. It was 100 proof, which I think, like Maury said, it's the first one on steroids. But this one was a little bit different with the air. I got, at first, it was a little bit kind of acetone note, and then it went to buttered popcorn. And I was getting more of those corn notes, like the buttered popcorn, the caramelized.
I think you're still at the movies from last night. I didn't get any buttered popcorn.
No?
Sorry.
Pour it again.
Quite pungent. Oh, yeah.
Pour it again.
It's a formidable
I didn't get
scent.
the tropical fruit that these guys got. I got a little hint of citrus, though. And at first, I thought it was hot. Giving it air just really brought out the better notes. And medium finish, good whiskey, 3 sips.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right. Who else?
Justin.
I got a fruity nose on this one.
Oh, you got a fruity nose, all right.
I thought it was a smooth sipper.
Finally quantitated that.
It had a long finish, had short legs, and it rolled all the way to the back of my tongue on the finish. and I gave
That's
it.
how Eileen describes you: short legs, pretty nose,
Short on
It
the
was an
finish.
autobiography, and they gave us really cool bottles with all these 375s that look a lot like the John F. Fitzgerald bottles. So very impressive presentation. Made you want to get into that whiskey fast.
How many sips?
3 sips.
Woohoo!
Interesting.
Bobby Joe, what'd you think?
It definitely improved dramatically with some air. I mean, I liked it fine when we first opened it, but as we went through all of the expressions and then I went back, it was noticeably different. It's still in the nose, got that leather,
It's because you're noticeably more intoxicated.
and it's also got almost like a raw cookie dough nose to it. On the palate though, I'm definitely getting the leather in this.
Where's the bottle? Let me revisit this thing.
It's got a really, I mean, it's got a medium finish on it. Solid whiskey. Definitely give it 3 sips.
Interesting.
All right, well, let's go on to our next one, and we're gonna have
I got this one. Thanks, Bob. Our next product is 80 Laws Farmer Select Single Barrel 4-grain straight bourbon, 47.5% ABV or 95 proof. It's the Farmer Select is a single barrel bottling of their 4-grain straight bourbon. It's handpicked by the Colorado farmers that grow their grain. So that's kind of unique. I think that the farmers actually pick the grain for this. So
I like it. It's a good marketing thing.
Yeah, it is a good marketing thing. And the color on this, of course, it's a little bit amberish, brown.
Well, they pick the barrel, not the grain. They pick the barrel. They pick all the grain. They're the farmer.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they have machinery for that kind of stuff now.
Yeah. Well, this, like I said, this is I like this one. This one's like low on the horizon for the sunset. For the color, I get a lot of oranges and bananas out of this one. But the citrus notes really come out on it for me, kind of heavy, on the nose. Not a bad thing at all. I like it, and I wasn't expecting that. But then when I get to it, I don't get any of those traditional rye notes with it. So, I lose that pepper and the spice that I'm expecting, and I get more of that leather and tobacco. So it kind of fools you. I lose those citrus notes in the flavor. I'm a little bit thrown off by that. Did you get
those citrus notes in the other ones as well? I mean, those.
No, I didn't really get the orange, and I didn't really get the oranges and the bananas. A little bit of bananas, but this one I really got the oranges in it. But it's a nice mouthfeel, and it's not something I could have one of these after one of these with dinner or something with the steak is what I would imagine I'd want to have this with, and but then I couldn't drink all night, but medium finish, and I'm going to give this 3 sips. Nothing offensive about it.
All right, what do you think, Maury?
I'm going to disagree with Brent.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I think to summarize,
You're a complete bastard and we'll hate
it. This was my least favorite of the first 3. I thought it was a step down. I had high expectations of it to be a step up from number 1.
Why don't you knock it off with them negative waves?
As it's a barrel pick, basically. For me, it was just there. It's young. It's needs a little more time in the barrel. Needs a little more refinement. I felt the leather and the tobacco were overpowering. It was a little out of balance for me. It was a little dry. The nose was just kind of there. Nothing really exciting about it. I mean, like I said, I think it's well made. I think it's going the right direction. It definitely needs more time. I give it 2 sips.
Well, isn't that nice?
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Actually, man, it's my opinion too. I agree with Maury. 2 sips. Just I wait till you got your hand off the button to do that.
Well, isn't that nice?
You're a complete bastard and we'll hate it.
So is the guy with the controls.
Yeah, but there's nothing offensive about
There's
this
nothing
one.
offensive about it. I thought this was my least favorite of those first 3. It's like,
it's It's like I said, I could only have one drink of it. I couldn't drink it all night long.
It was heavy on that leather, and I've approached this after 40 minutes back in the glass, and it hasn't changed that much.
No,
hasn't opened up. I did get more of the tropical note on this one than I did in the others, and that's the only that's what definitely gives it a two sips rather than like anything else. The nose is still pleasant.
The nose is very pleasant. Yeah.
But it's the palate. I think it's the least balanced. It's exactly what Maury said.
Right. Well, you lose all those citrus flavors on the palate, I think. And
all right, Justin, what do you think?
I thought the nose was pretty complex, but I couldn't pull any specific notes out of it. This, of all the spirits we've tried so far today, reminded me of Scotch the most. Had no legs, short finish. It was very young, and I definitely got
no legs.
I got the tobacco and leather on the back end. I gave it 2 sips.
Well, isn't that nice?
All right. Well, let's move on to our next one. We got Harmeet doing it. If he'll put his phone down and stop texting during the show.
This is business, man. People call me at 2 a.m. all the time. It's not a booty call, not at all.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Trust me, we all know that. Good Lord.
All right, so which one are we on? Oh, it's number 4. This is the 80
You're
Laws.
a complete bastard and we'll hate you.
The 80 Laws Small Batch Secale Straight Rye. 50% ABV, or 100 proof for the lawyers among you who can't do math. Made from 95% Colorado-grown rye, 5% Colorado-grown barley, and aged a minimum of 3 years. First, a note about the name, Secale. We were looking this stuff up. They're just doing these under the Latin genus for the grain,
genus.
right?
It's not a specific type of rye.
Okay. So... we were looking up how to pronounce this too, so I thought in the South was...
Yeah, watching Maury sitting there trying to get Siri to pronounce a word for him is just stunningly entertaining. So
it doesn't take much to entertain you, Bob.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I want you to feel like you can tell me anything, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we can't tell you anything on the air. Not that yet. So this is another one that the air really improved, and I really enjoy this. Although I'm a sucker for rye. I do like rye, even though this is not a traditional rye by any sense of the word. This is very different from what I normally see. The nose was light floral and citrus notes. With air, I got the banana and vanilla notes coming out as well. The palate, it just seemed a little bit fired, a little bit young. Had some good spice and some rose petal there. The finish was pleasant and medium. Then I added some water. The water brought a little bit of sweetness in there. I really enjoyed the flavor coming with the water and some more air. It went from a 3 sips whiskey to a 4 sip whiskey. And of course, I say that knowing that Bob is never going to hit the button, so I gave him 2 different ratings. 4 sips, Bob. 4. Hit the button.
4 sips.
You're a complete bastard and we'll hate you.
There's the button.
4 sips. Yeah, that is high for that. For this one.
Yeah, you don't have to agree with me, baby.
I'm not going to agree.
I'm not going to agree with you.
I'm not going to agree with you at all because when I think of a rye, I want all those traditional rye notes that I'm used to with my rye.
So do I, but I still like the whiskey. It doesn't have to be a traditional whiskey.
I would argue.
Although I have to tell you, I'm wearing a Fireball shirt today. It's just to mess with you guys.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
Well,
that is your whiskey of choice. So
No, it is not.
I would argue if you tasted this blind, you would never pick this as a 95% rye.
No. I would never say this is 95% rye. I'm not saying it's typical of its mash bill or its terroir or anything like that. It's an interesting, good whiskey by itself.
It's infinitely better with water. I'll give you that.
The water really improved.
That grog really tied the room together, did it not?
But it does not rise to 4 sips.
So rather than argue with me, who's giving a rating?
I'm giving it 3 sips.
There you go.
It raised from 2 to 3 with water.
Yeah. I think it went from 3 to 4.
I think it's an interesting whiskey. It's young. I think it's got miles to go before it's really fully mature. If you like immature whiskey, it's great. But I think it's going to be fantastic in the future when it's more mature.
Yeah, it doesn't have enough. Right, it doesn't have enough age to it yet.
Oh yeah, no. There's not really good 3-year-old ryes out there.
I love what they're doing. 95% 5 is a great mash bill. There's virtually hardly anybody making that
You mean like LDI?
Except for LDI.
Right.
But, it's tough.
It's
very tough.
There's a lot of 95.5 out there.
Yeah, but it's very tough to make. For the average small distiller, 95.5 mash bill is very hard to work with.
Okay.
There are a lot of technical issues and challenges with high rye.
You throw some enzymes in the mash.
Yeah,
I'm actually going to agree with Mr. Happy. Once it opened up with the air
and a little water,
I'm liking
Splash.
it. I'm really liking it. It's
all right. Send the bottle down.
You know.
Where'd it go?
I'm not looking for, I don't care that it doesn't drink like a typical rye. All I care is what it tastes like.
I agree.
You can call it whatever name you want if it tastes good. But
I'll call it Secale.
Once the air hit it, and especially with just a drop of water, I'm getting when the air hit it, all of a sudden it's banana pudding's coming out. Huge.
See, I didn't get much benefit from air, but the water really roped it up. This is the first one that
it's got
really
a nice
helped.
spice. Once you taste it, I can taste that it's a rye. I mean, it's not, that blinding spice that you're used to with the 95 rye, but orange peel and brown sugar. I think it's excellent. I give it 4.
Yeah. Thank you, Bob. See, someone here appreciates me. Although not Bob, really.
No, I think it's.
He's always calling me names.
I think it's still overpowered by the leather and tobacco that I keep getting on every one of these products. I think that is the overpowering thing for me so far.
Well, what do you think, Justin?
This really changed when you added water to it. Initially, I thought it like a bubblegum nose and it had no legs and not much to offer. Then after about 45 minutes open, I got fire in it. It still didn't have a long finish, but it definitely tasted like rye.
He's always about the legs. You got to go on personality, too. Or sometimes the butt.
Brent and I are impatient. We don't want to wait 45 minutes to drink our whiskey. We want to pour it and suck it down.
Right.
Before water, I gave it 2 sips. After water and some air, it went to 3 sips.
All righty.
Interesting.
Brent, you give it a rating?
I'm going to stick with a 3-sip rating for this because of the. I think if it had more time, it'd be okay.
All right.
We'll be back.
The destination, but baby, the whole elation of riding down this lover's avenue. As slow as a willow blows, or as fast as the whirlwind grows, we glide beneath the stars in cobalt blue. Look to the left, to the right. Keep your eyes on the road, my darling. Wondering if we're only passing through. Open roads and open windows. My hand is yours forever, sweet love. Our eyes ahead on these back roads with a view.
And we're back, and we're talking about the Laws Whiskey House. And we've got our next product coming up, which is the 80 Laws Triticum Straight Wheat Whiskey. Let me grab the right one.
Quadro Triticale, you say?
It's Quadro Triticale. Cyrano Jones feeds it to his tribbles. It's most awesome. So the other 3 are looking like they have no idea what we're talking about.
We are geeks over here. Yeah. We are geeks. Geek solidarity.
Yeah. The heck with all of them.
Yeah.
You know what I say about them, don't you?
You're a complete bastard and we'll hate you.
That's right, Vivian. Heck with them. This is made from 100% Colorado-grown high mountain Triticum wheat, and it's aged for a minimum of 2 years. It's pretty rare to find a 100% wheat whiskey. Even Bernheim, which is probably the most well-known, quote, wheat whiskey, is, 51, right?
Right. That's what we looked at, 51%.
Although last week when we were doing, last show, we did the Florida show, and Timber Creek has one that's 100% wheat. But it's pretty rare to have one that doesn't have any other grain in it.
Even the Compass Box whiskeys are wheat and corn.
Yeah. It's got to be hard. I mean, it's like doing anything when you're doing 100% any grain, when you don't have that barley in there, you don't have that enzyme. That's got to be a real pain to get the fermentation to start. But it's got almost a cream of wheat kind of nose to it, like a porridge, like a wheat porridge. You know, it's got a nice color. It's a nice ambery gold, almost a little yellow amber gold to it. And on the palate, again, it's very, you can tell it's wheat. I mean, it's very grassy. It's like having a bowl of cream of wheat porridge. It's definitely not in your face. It's very laid back. It's very light, which is what I would expect from something like 100% wheat. You're not getting any of the rye spice. You're not getting into that corn note to it. It's definitely very interesting. I don't know if it's going to be the one that I'd be grabbing to drink on a regular basis, but I do enjoy trying, different things and new things like this. Well made. I don't see any obvious flaws in it. I give it a solid 3.
Interesting.
What'd you think, Brent?
Okay, this is my least favorite of all that we've had so far, and I wanted some wheat. I wanted some of that. When you think of wheat, you think of a wheat bread. Just like as a rye, you think of a rye bread, and you think of those spices that you get in there. And I don't get this. I don't get this softness. The flavors haven't had a chance because of its age.
It's too young.
They haven't had a chance to mature and mellow out and everything, so I don't really, it's hard to judge what's going to happen to it in 2-3 years because I get a little bit too much bitterness on my tongue for it.
Yeah, we have no basis for comparison because then
100%
exactly. Wheat is so unusual.
Right,
I've had Scotch 100% wheats, but they're always much older.
I'm going
right. But I just think that it hasn't calmed down enough yet.
Yeah.
A
wheated bourbon generally does a lot better with a lot more time. I mean,
obviously,
so that's what I'm going on. And that's the only frame of reference I have. So I'm with you. I think with more time,
when you add
really
the corn, and when you add the corn to it, then you get some of those vanillas and caramel and stuff. This one here, I just got too much bitterness with it. Too much, it was the peppers on the front of my tongue. Didn't really have much of a back end to it. I have to go with just. I like where it's going. I hope that in a couple of years I'm going to be able to say, wow, look at this, but I'm just going to go with 2 sips.
And,
Well, isn't that nice?
And more importantly, we now know that Justin always looks for the legs and Brent always looks for the back end.
Well,
maybe we should put them together.
Somewhere in the middle.
Would you guys like us to leave you alone? We can go in the other room and finish this up. Yeah.
Obviously.
Right. What do you think, Maury?
I agree with Brent. This was my least favorite. I found the nose to be a little bit off-putting. It had a medicinal note. It had a petroleum note to it on the nose. I was excited because 100% wheat whiskey is virtually unheard of. And typically, even the one show we did where we had some, they were using it to kind of ferment separately and then blend in to create the final blend. It's rare that anybody would bottle and sell a wheat whiskey. So I love the experiment. I love what they're doing. I think it's neat to pick it up and buy it and try it. For me, it's a buy it and try it and say I've tried it, but not something that I would necessarily go back to often. Again, well made, young. I think age perhaps will help it, but I really think that it would be better blended in with some of the other grains. And so for that, I give it 2 sips.
Yeah, when you say,
well, isn't that nice?
Yeah, when you say buy it and try it, it is, but then the chances that you're going to go back to it in a few years are a lot slimmer because it's just, I want it to be out there and I want it to have give it a chance to blend in more, so
that's the problem. A lot of whiskey companies.
Right, exactly. When they put it out too early, now there's less chance that I really want to go out and buy it and try it, 2 or 3 years from now.
That's why you have people like us reviewing whiskey.
Yeah.
And bloggers.
That's why people that have enigmatic machines at work, you can go in and try it and decide whether to retry it.
Justin, what do you got on this?
I'm just trying to figure out that there's a whiskey he won't buy again. I mean, other than one notorious one, please. We all know he'll drink anything we put in front of him.
So I'd love to know where they're aging their bourbon, because they're aging it in Colorado. They're probably not getting the really hot summers to draw the whiskey out into the wood. So even if it probably age more like Scotch than bourbon if they're aging it there. This particular one, I got
Good
a
point.
sweet nose. Thank you.
Because I was going to say the same thing. You stole my point, man. That's what I'm saying.
It's sweet nose. I got orange peel, bananas.
You're a complete bastard and we'll hate you.
When you throw these out for me, it just
I know.
I definitely got a strong side palate
not going to fall for that.
of leather, and it doesn't really taste what I would think a wheat bourbon would taste like.
Well, it's not a bourbon.
Right.
It's so
It's a
weird.
wheat whiskey.
Wheat whiskey.
That's what I keep telling you. It's a wheat whiskey. You don't
Right.
have, I mean, you've got to clear your head on this because you don't really have much of a frame of reference.
That's right. It's
Yeah,
not
there's
a
only a
weighted
couple
bourbon.
out there.
You got some guys over here who will remain nameless, Mr. Shortlegs and Backend over here,
So don't be like me
They're
and
trying
expect it
to-
to be a wheat bourbon.
Yeah, you
because you'll
can't.
be disappointed.
Yeah, it's not going to be a Maker's Mark. It's not going to be an Old Fitzgerald because it's not a bourbon. It's a
Right.
wheat whiskey,
Right.
to the max. It's not even a Bernheim. It's way at the top.
Can you do that
it's,
again?
What?
That little sound.
Yeah, I had a big lunch. So
That was your lunch making a curtain call.
exactly. Yeah, so like that. Yeah, it's you've
Please-
got to
please
sort
don't-
of
please don't
something
do
like
those things with
this.
your mouth.
You've got to just sort of clear your head and just take for what's in the glass and try not to compare it because there's nothing to compare it to. So
You got to respect the small distillery that's doing things that aren't in the market.
Well, yeah, they have to try to set a name for themselves and distinguish themselves.
Did you guys all try it with water or no?
yeah,
Yeah,
I did add water.
Yeah,
The water
I have.
helped.
Yeah.
I even added water, and I know you're shocked about that.
Well, I didn't see you do it, so Pixar didn't happen.
I did 50-50 water and wheat.
it helped the back end on it. It didn't do anything for me on the front end, but the back end, it tamed the back end a lot, the water. Just a couple of drops, not a lot. So
Yeah, I tamed the back end the other night, too. I'm sorry.
your wildest dreams.
The alarm clock went off. It was time to get up and go to work.
I want you to feel like you can tell me anything, okay?
Except that. Dear Lord.
Did you give it a rating, Justin?
We
just keep interrupting
two
you.
sips.
All right. What'd you say, Mr. Happy?
Well, isn't that nice?
I found it typical of a couple of the things that you get with wheat whiskey, which is a very prickly nose. When it smelled, it's like, whoa, it's like little pins and needles
That's what
up my nose.
Shannon says about your mustache and beard. It's prickly on her nose.
Well, let's not go there. I told you I tamed it. I added water. I added water right away, smoothed out that nose. I got vanilla, some tobacco, a little bit of honey, and there's a little bit of light smoke from that number 4 char on these barrels. And it's surprisingly heavy I've had other wheat whiskeys. They're much more light. I think they're also using more column still than pot. So this is a column pot combination. One of those,
right.
those awful hybrids that they're using these days. And this was surprisingly heavy for a wheat compared to the other wheat whiskeys I've had. But the H2O really just made this, I thought, quite approachable. The wheat notes weren't what I've had before, but it's so interesting, and I thought it was a good balance of bitter and sweet. I had to give it at least 3 sips. I don't know what's you guys with you're putting it down.
Yeah, that's like I said. The thing is it's I'm not trying to judge it based against something else. I'm just trying to judge it on what it is, and that's hard to do when you don't really have a frame of reference. That this is something different. So, I thought it was definitely interesting. Am I going to drink it on a daily basis? Well, I couldn't with what's in the other room.
No, your other room is the problem.
Yeah.
But
The
the other thing,
bunker's a little
just
weird.
that Brent and Justin both mentioned the age, and the because of the altitude and the temperature, aging is different here. The wheat whiskeys I've had from Scotland are much older. So I mean,
it just hasn't
they
had
need
the time. It hasn't had the time
See,
yet.
that's what I'm thinking. Is the only
You know?
reference we have is a weeded bourbon, and we all know weeded bourbons like to have a little more time.
Yeah, they do.
especially in the cooler part of the rick house, down on the bottom, away from the walls. A William Roy Weller, something that a weeded whiskey loves that. So I'm assuming that's going to be where this is going to go. If you give it another 3 or 4 or 5 years,
I'm saying 12 years plus on this one
minimum. But exactly. Once this thing gets 12 or 14 years old, it may be stunning. I really don't know.
Right. That's why I gave it what I did, because of it just needs more time. It hasn't had the time to let everything blend in, even though it's all 100% wheat. It still needs to blend with itself somehow, you know.
All right, well, let's move on to the last one, and we got Maury who's going to read to us a little bit about this. And
all right, thank you, Bob. Our last product is the 80 Laws Hordeum Straight Malt Whiskey, clocking in at 42.5% ABV. It's made from 99% Colorado-grown malted barley with a splash of rye, and it's aged a minimum of 2 years.
Is technically a splash.
Yes. So again, a very, very unique mash bill. It's very rare that you'll see a whiskey that's 100% malted barley, unless it's a Scotch, which is typically 100% malted barley. But for an American whiskey, that's unusual. Again, the color is fairly similar to what we've seen before. They all have a beautiful amber color. The nose is really pleasant, and it's really the most approachable. I'll tell you up front, this was my favorite whiskey of the night or the morning. Is it still night? Is it morning? I'm not sure.
Does it matter?
After midnight, it's technically morning.
This
guy went to medical school.
It's got a nice nose. It's nice on the palate. It's really just balanced. It's pleasant. It's got all the usual things you'd expect to find in a straight malt whiskey. It's got a long finish.
It's longer when he takes a sip in the middle of his review.
It's mouth coating. It's just really a pleasant, drinkable whiskey. I gave it 4 sips.
All right.
I'm agreeing with Bob. Maury. Just hit 4 sips for me again. I'm asking you now because, by the time I finish my review. Oh, there it goes.
You happy?
Thank you. Everything you said is right.
You wearing the Fireball shirt? Should have just stabbed him when he walked in.
That was to just mess with you guys. I can't believe I didn't get a bigger rise out of you. There's a huge fire-breathing dragon the size of my back on the back of the shirt.
Oh, I didn't see the back yet.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I was afraid to look at your back.
Yeah.
Well, we all know Brent looks at the back.
Mm-hmm.
Justin, what'd you think?
I thought that
short legs,
it had medicinal nose, short legs. He's like a mind reader, this guy. Ginger spice. It didn't taste like other malt expressions that I've had before. It had a thin mouthfeel. I gave it 2 sips. I'd like to see it in 20 years out of the rick house.
I'm so surprised that I feel like you didn't even drink the same whiskey I did.
I did. I drank the same whiskey.
Well, we know where you're going.
Right, and you know where I'm going. You know where I'm going.
Just skip your rating?
Mr. Scotch over here.
We might as well Bob, what do you give it?
Yeah. Try again.
It actually had a pleasant nose. I like the nose on this, and it does have a pleasant nose.
Mm-hmm. It's very pretty.
Right. There's nothing wrong with that. I enjoyed it. I was expecting more. I got a little bit of iodine, a little bit of ginger, a little bit of white pepper.
I'm going to put a couple dabs behind my ear, see what it does to my wife.
Yeah. But all the flavor that I got to this is right up on the front of my tongue. It didn't give me any kind of a full mouthfeel or anything.
Like the back end.
Yeah.
There's no back end, so he doesn't like the back end.
Again, there was no back end to this. There was no, the finish was,
it's got
short.
a Latin name, but it's not a Latina, huh?
Yeah, exactly. There's no back end, no finish.
And here I am wishing I had that Big Butts song to play. If I could have predicted the future, I'd be cueing that.
That would be perfect right about now.
And even though I'm not a barley, that's not one of my favorite.
No, you're not
grains.
a barley fan.
I'm not a barley fan, but this just doesn't. I just want more out of it. When I have the finish to it, I want something that's going to coat my mouth and enjoy. And I don't have that to this.
God,
so.
he throws these softballs up. I think he's out of his mind. I'm with Harm. I think it's extremely well made.
I'm giving it 2 sips. So
yeah, it's. Yeah, we got 2 at him, which for him is actually pretty
I'm
damn
surprised.
good,
Well, isn't that nice?
Yeah,
I thought it was extremely well made. I think it's well put together.
I just keep coming back to it.
Yeah.
I've been letting it sit.
The longer I let it sit, the better it gets. I think it's excellent. I'm with you. I give it 4.
That's classified.
Nice.
All right, well, that's about all the time we have today to talk about ADOs. So We hope you enjoyed this episode, and you can catch all of our episodes online as well as on SoundCloud, TuneIn, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, PRX, and Spreaker, our native media host. iTunes, Google Play, and our own Android app are the easiest ways to enjoy the show on your phone. Just search for Sip Suds Smokes on iTunes or in the Google Play Store or on iHeartRadio.com. Be sure to tap subscribe, and the show will always be on your phone. We love your feedback. You can reach us online at info@sipsudsandsmokes.com. Our daily tasting notes flow out on Twitter every day at SipSudsSmokes, and our Facebook page is always buzzing with lots of news and reviews. You'll also be able to interact with the thousands of other fans on these social media platforms. Do us a favor, please, and take the time to rate this episode if you're listening to us online. It's a big help to us, and we get to see your feedback as well. And I want to thank our co-host for joining us today. Thank you, Mr. Backend.
Oh, I love having you here today.
Thank you, Maury.
Thank you, Bob. Always a privilege and a pleasure to be here.
No back end for you. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Mr. Happy.
I need a shower. I feel dirty. You guys.
You're a complete bastard and we'll hate you.
Just give me some more whiskey, please. I need that Hordeum.
For Sip Suds and Smokes, this is Made Man Bob. We thank you for joining us, and remember, life is too short to drink bad whiskey.
It is too short to drink
cheap whiskey.
No, wait, he switched it up on me. He got me. I agree with you.
Are you ever not going to fall for that?
Exactly, Loki. You tell him.
All right. Thank y'all.
This has been a one-tan hand production of Sip Suds and Smokes, a program devoted to the appreciation of some of the finer slices of life. From the Dude in the Basement Studios, your hosts, the Good Old Boys, will see y'all next time.